Yeah, driving that too high. Okay, so thank you for coming to this meeting today of the Countywide Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. It looks like we do not have a quorum for a meeting. So we will continue as a committee of the whole. We won't have action items, and the action items that we had were only the approval of meeting notes for meetings of the January 23rd and March 26th CBPAC. So we'll postpone that to another date. Otherwise, we will continue committee of the whole with the informational items. Okay, well, let's just have introductions, and I'll start on this side.
Yeah, Alexander Oseguera, active transportation planner for the city of Santa Rosa.
Kim Badenford on the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Board in Santa Rosa.
Eris Weaver, Executive Director of the Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition.
Adam Garcia, Data Analyst with SCTA RCPA.
Dave Ripida, Director of Projects and Programming, SCTA RCPA.
Elizabeth Tyree, Sonoma County Regional Parks.
Mona Ibrahim, Town of Winter.
Gavin Waters, citizen appointee, Sebastopol.
Dana Teray, Sonoma County Transportation Authority, Regional Climate Protection Authority.
I didn't introduce myself. My name is Edie Takata. I'm from the city of Roanoke Park, and I'm serving as the vice chair of the CBPAC today. Drew, who do we have on Zoom?
On Zoom, we have Ross Clendetti with the SCTA RCPA, Christina Kanza with the Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition, Stephen Schmitz from Sonoma County Transit, Kevin Chen from MTC, Orlando Ramirez from Caltrans District 4. And yeah, that's all we have on the screen.
And in the back, in the audience seating, who do we have?
Where's Marin? Good afternoon, I'm Margo Kanyas, Senior Transportation Planner on Day 1 with SCTA.
Welcome. Thank you. And we have a gentleman who just came in.
Yeah. John J., City of Sebastopol.
Thanks. Okay, we're going to skip on the agenda approval meeting notes because we do not have a quorum to conduct that vote. Public comment on items not on the regular agenda. Anyone in the meeting room? How about on Zoom?
I have not seen any hands raised for items not on the regular agenda.
Okay. Thank you. Item number 4 on the agenda, complete streets checklist. And the complete streets checklists don't require approval, but just review and comment. So I think these look like they are coming from Dave.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So there are 2 different checklists for your review today. One led by STA for the US 101 Marin Sonoma Narrows. This is that follow-up visual mitigation landscaping and planting of trees along the Caltrans right-of-way to follow up on the Marin Sonoma Narrows project that occurred through Petaluma. So it doesn't really have a bicycle and pedestrian impact, but by MPC policy, we have to take this checklist to get your input on it. And similar to the second item for the State Route 37 Sears Point to Maryland Improvement Project, that one also needs your review and any comments by May 31st. In that case, Kevin Chen from MDC is online. In case you have any questions about the project, I'm also very well versed on the project as well. That one does have some bicycle pedestrian components because bicyclists are allowed on the shoulders Highway 37, but the project only includes 8-foot shoulders for a standard kind of unsigned class 3 bike route. And at the Sonoma Creek Bridge, there's a kind of a pinch point where there'll be bicycle signals to let motorists know there's a bicycle on the bridge because it narrows at that point. There was some evaluation of the feasibility of a class 1 bike path as part of the project. However, it's currently not feasible because of the increased environmental impact to widen the roadway further to provide that class 1 bike path. And it's been looking at a more long-term project to put it as part of the eventual causeway that'll be done on Highway 37. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have on either project. And we also have Kevin Chen online if you have questions about Highway 37.
I have a question on the Highway 37 project. It's noted under item 2 for active transportation network. It currently states a class 1 bike path physically separated from the highway is being considered as part of future long-term sea level rise. I would suggest that changes to intended. Because our discussions with MTC have been about the future of having that class 1 bike path along Highway 37.
Make that change.
Thank you.
Eris. I have a question just about the 37. So this project is about the landscaping project, and then you mentioned the bike lanes. Is any of the landscaping encroaching on the already existing space or no?
So the Highway 101 landscaping is just the planting within the existing
Right.
Caltrans right away.
Yeah, no, so 37 was the one.
Oh, 37 is the actual widening project. So that is the widen between Sears Point and Mare Island from 2 lanes to 4 lanes.
Okay, so if it's being widened, why can't I guess I'm not following the why the bike
There will be,
isn't.
so widen the highway even further would have additional filling of wetlands and environmental impacts by needing to fill in the bay and in the National Wildlife Refuge to provide that extra space for bicyclists. So we're trying to avoid the increased environmental impacts.
Although one could say that widening the freeway and adding more vehicle lanes actually impacts the greater environment more than the bike lane.
Any other additional comment on either of the two projects or questions to David or to Kevin? Kevin Chen. Any questions from the participants on Zoom? Okay, I think we have all the comments that we're going to get for today from folks on the Complete Streets checklist for these two projects. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item is Vision Zero data dashboard and progress metrics, and this is going to be Adam. Take it away.
Okay, thank you so much. Give me 1 second to get set up. All right, good afternoon. I'm excited to be coming to you today to talk about our ambitious project, Vision Zero for Sonoma County. Recently, as hopefully you all are aware, the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant graciously awarded SCTA funding. Some of that funding will be to better build out our vision resources, how we use the data dashboard, story maps, but really focused a lot on the progress metrics. So we know that, you know, people killed, people seriously injured is that end metric that we're trying to kind of reduce, lower, bring to zero. What are all the other points of information that we need to be able to understand, to be able to look jurisdiction by jurisdiction, even street by street, to say what needs to be done for these areas to really bring down serious injuries and fatalities from crashes on the road. Just looking at our agenda, just wanted to give a quick overview of some of the resources for Vision Zero. Our initial ideas of the data dashboard update, but the real focus will be on the project progress metrics overview. So this is looking at what are the metrics, which we've reviewed in the past, but more specifically, who are we looking to try to be able to track these on an annual basis and then share that information online in a story map to make accessible to all, and then follow up with the discussion. So please stop me at any point if you have questions. So just As a refresher, our Vision Zero goals. These are kind of guiding us in the data dashboard as well as the story map. Let's see, so for the Vision Zero data dashboard, we have, I'm sorry, let me back up. There's a couple different resources we have. There's our action plan, of course, which includes the goals we just looked at, and then those progress metrics. There's our data dashboard, which is an interactive online map with charts. A story map overview, which provides more of a narrative of the data in the Vision Zero project, and then progress tracker sheets, which you can see in the lower left. Those are kind of simple templates, PDF templates to fill out. Not so much, to really map it out like we're talking about, but more as a way to publish the results of what's been done kind of on an annual basis. And so what we're looking at is creating a new story map, really focused on the progress metrics. And so we're going to look at what those are in just a second, and hopefully that'll make more sense. But before we do, just looking at the Vision Zero dashboard, we're not proposing anything majorly structural to change within the dashboard, but more of thinking about what layers can we bring on. And maybe I'll just go through these real quick and then can open it up for questions.
Wasn't my hand up, I was just,
I'm ready for you.
Okay, right.
So for proposed layers, they're nestled in there, but not as apparent as they should be, the high injury network and high injury intersections. What we also got feedback then was schools, speed limit, and then hopefully folks are aware kind of in the lower right what a heat map would be. So that shows not the individual points, but where the concentration of crashes would be, for instance. You can highlight where those dangerous intersections are. And then what we're also working on currently is working to get hospital crash location data to start with Memorial, but looking at other hospitals as well. So those are all fairly doable. We have the data or are in process of gathering the data. But just wanted to bring this up to folks again. So this is the idea of if you're looking at the map and want to have an understanding of kind of what are the major issues that might lead to dangerous intersections and roadways, what might be some helpful other mapping layers to include. So maybe we'll just pause there, see if there's any clarifying questions or suggestions. All right, great. Like that. So moving on to the progress metrics. So as we're talking about, this is the Vision Zero action plan. Just so you can drill down a little bit more, the create safe speeds is the goal. The action is kind of listed here. What can we actually do? Review speeds and posted speed limits on the high injury network and set appropriate speed limits, mitigation measures, and so forth. In order then to say, well, what have we done to actually move on this action towards this goal then is the progress metric. How many actual miles of roadways have received speed mitigation measures? So that would be the progress metric for this particular action, 1.1. So with that, just any questions? I think we're gonna just kind of jump into more complicated chart here, but this is a summary of all of our progress metrics with the goals at the top. And then there is kind of the mapping and analysis approach is the color coding. So the light yellow is kind of a spatial or mapping analysis. The salmon is kind of outreach and materials development. Blue is a policy adoption. Green is kind of a program check. How well is this program operating, checking in on various variables. And then the gray is the combination of both doing a program check and then kind of that spatial analysis. So to go break these apart, what we're really looking at then is to say, what are the different data points that we need to figure out for these progress metrics? What is there funding needed? Are there materials that need to be created? Is there legislation that's relevant? And what we want to focus on today is kind of who are the leads for this effort in 2024 and the key implementers. The key implementers are also listed here. So we have local transportation and public works department, for instance. And we go off those, but if there's something different or more specific, we've used that as an example. So just to show, here's the high injury network speed mitigation measures. The data source would be coming directly from the jurisdiction's transportation projects, from their public works department. Funding or materials needed in this case. The Vision Zero Action Plan is probably going to be relevant for all of those, for all their progress metrics. But then for legislation, what is appropriate, and then, how are we going to update this data annually? And that's a big focus of this summer, of just trying to kind of test drive. Is there a very simple way that we can gather this information, but also try and figure out, could we maybe employ a more advanced online method that just facilitates this data collection? That would be easier for everyone, which is one of our guiding goals internally. So getting into the progress metrics, how this is broken out is kind of by our key implementers. Who do we hold as kind of the organization or agency to be able to provide this information? So for obviously Safe Routes to School would be the Bike Coalition. Promoting alternatives to impaired driving is shared, I think, between County Health and the Tourism Bureau. For County Health, we have kind of a list, and I apologize, I haven't updated this. I should take off that first one, schools and enrollment, that is already listed. But going down below, businesses engaged in responsible beverage service, attendance in DUI programs and drug and alcohol treatment, and then anti-distraction campaigns as well are the main progress metrics for County Health. For looking at both transit agencies and public works is focused on fleet safety. So how can we ensure that the trucks and vehicles, large vehicles that are going out on the road, employ the safest mitigations for driving around safely on the street. For law enforcement, looking at training modules for reporting crashes. Transit agencies focused on nighttime public transport, but also any programs related to safe driving. For hospitals, we mentioned already the hospital crash data. And our big list is for transportation, public works. Maybe I won't read over all of these, but it's really focused on the high injury network, where those projects are going in to address safety issues on the high injury network, and then being able to quantify the results in some way. So there's a variety of ways that we can do that. But also other things, looking at street standards, local road safety plan, so forth. So, and then lastly, for SCTA, really looking at what's the data that's already out there that we can just easily ingest and process and don't have to bother anybody about. And then for the jurisdictions, we're thinking about for those that do have equity priority communities or have their own definitions, just what's the strategy for engagement in those communities. So yeah, long list, but just a few questions to help guide us, and also if anything came up from the data dashboard as well. But wanting to know, are we matching the right data stewards with the correct progress metric? Are there ways, especially for those folks in transportation public works, that you can see this data being most easily collected and reported? And then, yeah, which of those metrics does it seem will be kind of the hardest to collect? And then, yeah, lastly, I think weren't any questions about this, but if anything else came up about the data dashboard. So we'll just pause there.
Of course, I have a question. I might be remembering wrong, but am I correct that is there any prioritization among all of this, right? Because it's when you've got this whole list of metrics, it's really easy to focus on the ones that are easy to count. But I'm always interested in what's the direct line between this thing and, how many schools we're in at Safe Routes to School versus how many deaths we have on the road, right?
Yeah.
Right. So has there been any prioritization of the interventions or even research into proven effectiveness of any of them relative to each other? Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, I'm not aware of any prioritization, but I think what your logic is spot on. What is the metric maybe that can have the most bang for its buck if we really want to say this one is determinant maybe for some other ones or something along those lines. I'm not aware of anything. I'll look to Dana or Chris, see if there's anything. So yeah.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, good idea. I want to stop and think about it now. The list. So but no, we'll definitely think about that. But part of the prioritization, is what's easy and attainable that we can just start to populate on the story map. For stuff that maybe we can't get the data for, we'll at least include a narrative and say, here, we're in this process, or this is the best we can do maybe at a state or county-wide level. So yes, but every metric will get some account in that story. Any other questions, thoughts?
I know that I had just trying to answer the question for transportation and public works. What is, I think you asked, how could the progress metric be collected and reported annually? I mean, there are certain, just thinking, well, when do I get asked these questions? Because we do, right? September, we have our measure and reporting, annual streets and roads. To the state controller, we are required to, break out how many dollars you spent on certain types of transportation activities and even projects. So, I mean, those are natural times where we can get at things like dollars invested in VZ infrastructure projects because we're asked anyway. So July to September is a time when we are gathering information anyway, or trying to get it out of our finance department or whatever we're doing. It's an active time. And I think this September through December, same thing for the state reports. And we are probably wrapping up projects and looking at our CIP anyway. So I think that's just seems like to me a natural time to either remind us or, get us whatever place it is that we need to report. And of course, just remind us at the Vision Zero meetings, hey, go online and put your dots wherever you need to put them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, that timing sounds perfect for our purposes as well. We're going to be trying to kind of pilot this process this summer and later this year. So I think we can try to look to establish some best practices to begin with through some kind of one-on-one conversations with the jurisdictions, and then be able to figure out kind of some standard. I think at this point, the easiest would be, understanding, I think, more about what your requirements are and how we can kind of easily slide into there and just say, oh, can you just copy and paste this over?
Perfect.
And make it as painless as possible. So figuring out which ones are there and which ones might take a little bit more work, will be a conversation that we'll be setting up soon.
Good.
Yeah.
Do you have a target date for when you want to publish this report, the first report?
We do not have a target date at this point, no. Sometime next year, but not exactly sure. The majority of the work I do would be kind of the end of this year and into early next year though, so. But then hopefully if we have our, system set up, that this data could then be updated annually. All right, well, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Andy. Okay, our next item on the agenda is Bike Month recap. And I believe the Bike Coalition has something to say about that. Not all of our successes there.
Yeah, well, we still got 3 days left. So if you're taking part in the bike challenge, you've still got 3 more days to hit there. I'm in the top 25 on the leaderboard, and I must stay there. So I'll just share a little bit about some of the numbers and what all we did here in Sonoma County during the month of May. We held, so I'll just do the numbers first. We held in April, we do this every year, hold a pre-bike to work day bike clinic that people can bring their bikes and get them fixed. So we had 31 people attend and fixed about 16 bikes for people to be able to get going when the month started. 112 people. This is all numbers in Sonoma County. Of course, the bike to work day, month thing is Bay Area wide. We had 112 people pledge online that they would bike to work or bike in May. 6 cities issued proclamations about Bike to Work Day and Bike Month. On the day of, we had 11 Energizer stations in key places around the county. We really focused, there have been some years way in the past, especially pre-COVID, when we would have like 24 of them, but some of them would only have like 5 people stop, right? Because they were not in a location that people typically use as a bike route to get to school for what, or work or for whatever various reasons. So we were very cognizant this time of let's put them in routes where people, tend to ride. We had 508 cyclists stop at the Energizer stations and another 180 kind of pass by. Gave out 500 of the messenger bags. 6 elected officials participated. We also had 6 bike shops that also had bags and were giving out stuff as well. City of Santa Rosa did a block party the end of the day. That was really, really fun. The number I got for attendance was around 250. Does that fit with what you thought, Alexander? We had another happy hour. We'd had a couple of radio interviews, newspaper articles, and newspaper ads. The challenge that I mentioned, in pre-COVID, and now I'm going to connect up with the evaluation part, right? Because our funding comes from MTC and they give us certain deliverables and things that we're counting. And I've been thinking a lot about, well, how are some of these things we're counting actually accomplishing the goals, right? If the whole purpose of Bike Month and Bike to Work Day is to recruit new cyclists, I'm not sure that any of our metrics actually measured that. Right? We're not asking people when they stop if this is their first time. And when somebody says, oh yeah, I've got a dozen of those bags at home, you know that it's not. One of the things that I think did really recruit new people in the pre-COVID era was when we had the team bike challenges, at the employers. And I've heard so many stories from people who are avid cyclists now for whom Bike to Work Day was the gateway. That somebody at work organized a team and they got everybody going. And there was that camaraderie and support and prizes and, gamification stuff all over that I think actually got new people because we would hear about it from people. So we haven't had a challenge since 2020, right? COVID kind of stopped things. And we've been begging to have it back. Some of the platforms that we used in the past were problematic, and what was given to us by MTC was a challenge on an individual challenge on Ride with GPS that was, hey, Bay Area, let's bicycle collectively 30,000 miles. Now, pre-COVID, the last year that I looked up, Bay Area wide, over 3,000 people participated in this and rode over 420,000 miles. So this year with this challenge where there's no teams, you can't see, where people are from, they're giving a few prizes, but it didn't have that same thing. There's 768 people Bay Area wide participated and have ridden 96,000 miles, which is still 3 times the goal they set, which we said when they set the goal, like, is that a good enough goal? We're like, oh, we're going to pass that easy. So that's something that I would, really love to see come back, and do some more thinking about, well, if our purpose is this, how are each of these things that we're required to do actually accomplishing that? A few things that were interesting is some just sort of qualitative stuff. Like I said, we weren't seeing as many new faces or hearing, new people, but we did see a lot more parents and kids together, parents bicycling their kids to school or daycare or whatever. And that's not something that we'd really seen a lot at the Energizer stations. So that was kind of a, I guess even if parents are working from home, the kids still got to go to school. So that was an interesting thing to see. We did not have any animals. In previous years, we've always had at least like a chicken or a duck, or somebody shows up at the Energizer stations, right? And we would report it to MTC too. Yes, we have this many cyclists and 2 ducks, and then we're like, what the heck are you talking about? Oh, this guy brought his ducks on his bike. Why not? And we had one particular big group of kids from Green Acres. It's a school near Sebastopol for boys with challenges. I don't know the full details of it, but they had a big bunch that rode all the way from the school from Sebastopol into Santa Rosa and got their bags and then rode back. And I passed them both ways on the Gerardota Trail because I try to hit as many of the stations as possible to thank our volunteers and sponsors and everything. So they were really cute. And then of course the block party was new this year, and I have to say that the Juan Deere tractor bike was pretty much a hit. The Juan Chavez, who started Bike to Work, Taco Tuesday, made a giant tricycle with tractor tires, and it's painted green and yellow like a John Deere tractor, and that one was a hit. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. We're doing our follow-up thank yous and stuff with everybody. But yeah, any questions about how many people rode their bikes on Bike to Work Day? Okay. All right. Excellent. Good. Okay. Yeah.
I have a question. So you mentioned some numbers that people stopped and people that passed, but you also said your Energizer stations aren't in the same place as previous years, right? So you can't really compare apples to apples compared to previous years.
Yeah, some of them are. And we had spreadsheets up the wazoo from every year's Energizer stations and their counts. So some of the places like Railroad Square, the Fish, at the Prince Memorial Greenway. So there are some that have been fairly constant. So we could compare numbers for that. The number I gave you was a total, but we can look and see, for a place that's been there multiple times, how many people have stopped there.
Harris, I would echo your comment about the team bike challenge, because I am one of the novice riders who started riding because of that, because we were competing. And I don't know if anyone remembers, but in the teams must consist of a certain, I mean, if you had 5, I think it was 5,
Mhm.
a certain number of novices, so new to biking, so 2 to 3, and then the other 2 or 3 could be big wheelers, so your electeds, and of course electeds want to be part of that, or executives, and then weekend warriors. So you're not biking to work, but you certainly will be biking on the weekends. But then maybe you should try to bike to work. So I would say that was, I mean, and they have the technology, and the technology is now very good for different softwares. If that's what MTC was kind of thinking, you know, we didn't really like the software before. So I don't know if anyone here again had done it in the past, but we certainly, I mean, I think we saw in our own organization people who were new to biking, you know, I would say myself, who started biking because of that. So yeah, whoever we need to tell at MTC, will send them an email or something. Okay, thanks. Did we have there's a Safe Routes to School aspect of
Yes, and
I see
right
Tina.
there, and she can answer those questions.
Yeah, I have some slides I could share if I can share a screen. It's not a lot. I just wanted to share some numbers and some pictures from Bike to School Day. Drew, can you give me that sharing ability?
Yeah, it's there.
Hey. Okay, hang on a second.
And Tina, was that the same day as Bike?
No, Bike to School Day
Okay.
is the week before.
Okay.
It was Wednesday, May 8th. This is just a sample of our promotional materials, our look and feel. We give all our schools posters. This is actually not the poster, but it's the logo. We gave them other promotional materials. This on the bottom right is a sticker that we gave to schools, like a water bottle sticker that they could use to promote the day. And yeah, and we had a lot of participation this year. We had a total of 56 schools. This is kind of a breakdown of the number of schools in each jurisdiction, the number of bikes on Bike to School Day. We did take a pre-Bike to School Day number. We asked all the schools to count the bikes in their bike rack. These are student bikes only, so this does not include any parents who accompanied students. And then we calculated percentage increase for each of the jurisdictions, actually for each of the schools too. I have breakdown by school, but you can see the percentage increases are in most jurisdictions super high. I mean, we had actually a 900% increase in Monterey because they normally had like 1 bike and they had 10, but yeah, I mean, the percentage increases were really great. Overall, countywide, we had 150% increase in the number of bikes from what the norm is on a normal day. And if anyone has any questions about this sheet, like for example, Sonoma, like why is Sonoma only 4% increase? Well, they had actually a pretty high number of bicyclists at this 2 schools in Sonoma to begin with. And so they just didn't end up increasing it a ton. They did have a lot of walkers on their walking on the Bike to School Day, but they just didn't get more bicyclists this year. Although we're going to still work on that because we found that in jurisdictions where there were bike trains, we had about, of all these schools, of 56 schools that enrolled, 28 of them formed bike trains. And there were about 37 bike train routes in the county, and schools that had bike trains, the percentage increases were typically higher, sometimes significantly higher. Mary Collins at Cherry Valley, for example, they had 2 bike trains, and their norm, oh my gosh, I can't remember their norm, but they had 68 bikes. They had the highest number of bikes in the county, and they're like a school that really isn't like typically bike to a lot because it's up on a hill, but they just, because of the bike trains, because of the, that group effort, that really got a lot more kids and families out. And I just wanted to share some pictures because it's really a feel-good day. This is Grant Elementary School's bike rack. They had a really high number of bikes as well, one of the highest in the county. They had I think a couple of bike train routes. This is Live Oak Charter School. We had an advocate in Petaluma, Deb Fox, who helped organize a bike train, several routes to Live Oak, and one of them went over the D Street Bridge. There were something like, I think like 50-something people on this bike train. And she helped organize She helped organize the Mary Collins at Cherry Valley trains and the Grant Elementary trains. And she put together a whole big old bike train map of the whole city of Petaluma with all the bike trains that were formed, which was super cool. So Deb was an amazing advocate, and she's been nominated for Bike Advocate of the Year this year. She'll be honored at our gala on June 8th. And she also helped organize a gathering at Wickersham Park for multiple schools to bike to school. There was they had donuts there. There were some elected officials there, and then they split up and bike to their various schools. That was super cool in Petaluma. Santa Rosa Charter for the Arts was a cool story. We had 2 bike trains formed there from complete scratch. We had a teacher that was like, I want to start a bike train. So we helped her get communications out to parents and, you know, just kind of putting a call out to parents, and a few of them responded, and we kind of helped support figuring out where they should meet up. This one on the left and on the left side met up at Sonoma and D Street and got a big group and a parent that normally bikes, but like got a whole bunch of other families to bike with her. And the bottom right is Proctor Terrace School's welcome table. Monroe Elementary School had a neat bike train led by one of their teachers. I think Alexander might have been on this bike training. They actually went over the pump track as well, which is kind of cool. They went through that park there. Meadow Elementary School, I love this picture because just their number of bike stretches like as far as the eye can see. And then Richard Crane had a bike train in Rohnert Park. This is Adele Harrison's bike rack, and this is just a picture of some of the welcome tables at different schools showing like, you know, some of the promotional items that we give to school, stickers and some bike to school day promo bags and water bottles this year. So it was a great day. It was, the weather cooperated. Schools are excited. There's a lot of excitement about bike trains. We're going to try to do more of that next year. Let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions? Great pictures. Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
Looks like we have a question.
Yep. Hi, Gavin Waters, City of Sebastopol citizen rep. Just wondering if you keep any metrics on the number of bikes in the bike rack after bike to work day.
No, not officially. Sometimes we do get those numbers. That's a great idea to see if it makes a difference the week after, or, you know, a few days. We do again, we do tallies in the fall. So we will be doing tallies in September. But that's a new school year. Yeah, but that's a great idea.
All righty. Thank you. Thanks to both of you on that update of bike to work, bike to school, bike everywhere, bike everywhere. Mine's a couple more days, right? All right. We're on item number 7, planning, active transportation plan updates and coordination. And would this be you, Dina?
Yeah, so I'll just have a brief verbal update on the countywide active transportation plan. But I'll also invite Santa Rosa and Windsor if they want to, you know, provide any brief verbal updates on some processes for their plans as well. So for the countywide plan, we are right in the middle, a little more than halfway through the middle of the second phase of community engagement, where we are taking draft project lists, draft programs out to the communities, the 6 jurisdictions that we're working with. The City of Cotati Council actually adopted their plan earlier this month. They were on an accelerated schedule, but we are in the remaining 6 jurisdictions. We are providing an update to their respective bicycle and pedestrian advisory bodies. We are doing a pop-up or a tabling event within each community. And we are also doing an open house for each community. The exception is the unincorporated county, just with the large geography. We're doing 3 different pop-up events and not doing the open house style event. So that is going through, let's see, our last event is mid-June with the open house in Rohnert Park. We have an online web map and poll for public comment, and that's going to be open through the end of June. And at that point, we will refine the projects for going into the draft plans, which we expect to be out this fall, and we'll do our 3rd and final round of public engagement at that point. So that's all I have for the countywide process. I would invite any questions or comments, and also see if Windsor or Santa Rosa want to provide an update on their planning processes.
I'll go first. We're going pretty slow here, so we have some projects that we just need to get some public input on. So we haven't gotten to that stage yet. So we would like to get a draft of our plan also at the same time, you know, parts of it, but pretty much it's to prioritize projects right now. So we haven't gotten there yet, but it's being developed. So I am hoping that we'll have a plan by the end of this calendar year, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Oh, but could you provide a link or something to your the website that you're using?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I don't have the chat open, but I can send it to you. Also, another way it's called mysocialpinpoint.com, and then it's /Sonoma-county-ATP. But you could also get there from the SCTA website. On our countywide active transportation plan page, there is a link to that webpage that might be a little bit easier to navigate through SCTA's website. I also have some cards with a QR code and the link on them, which I could bring in at the end of the meeting.
All right, yeah. City of Santa Rosa active transportation plan, it's going good. We're doing a lot of community engagement right now. Kind of finished up our existing conditions report, and then we're also looking for feedback from folks. We got a survey out right now. It's online. You can look at a map and kind of like tell us, you know, just certain problem areas, you know, places you go, you know, any concerns you might have, and also leave comments in that survey. We've done, I think, close to like 10 different events so far, like either pop-ups, a workshop, or just going to, you know, mostly events or pop-ups, right? So it's been a lot of engagement at our Energizer station downtown. We had one, you know, Earth Day, Climate Action Night through the Santa Rosa Junior College, YMCA Healthy Kids Day, Roseland Cinco de Mayo Festival. We had a pop-up that had Alta, who's kind of like working on the project with us, our consultant, go to Lola's and do a pop-up event there. We had the bike and block party as well. So we're just trying to get as much information from the community as possible. And so far they've been really successful. Earth Day, I mean, I was there and we had just the whole time we were busy and slammed with people with comments and asking us about what we had going on. So I think so far we've had a pretty successful engagement process. And once we wrap it up, we have 2 more events. So June 1st, we're going to be at the Pride Parade, and then June 2nd, Child in the Wild event at Howard Park.
So Alex, I have a question, and this is about the you're gathering information on a website for the Santa Rosa ATP. Is that this? It's not the same as the county-wide.
No, it's
site,
a separate one. It's just, you know, for the city of Santa Rosa.
Okay, so if folks put pins on Santa Rosa in the county-wide, do you collect those too? Like, for example, like maybe I'm a commuter coming from Mount Runner Park, and I say, well, there's this thing that I encounter all the time in Santa Rosa. If I put a pin there on that site, do you pick it up somewhere?
I'm pretty sure we're trying to coordinate our efforts and trying to see if there's anything that data from their end and data from our end, because I know at our Earth Day event, I had people comment on connections from Sonoma. So I was looking in the future to send that information over to SCTA. So yeah, we also have, I know there's the CBTP, right? Community-based transportation plan that's in South Santa Rosa. So Tarina Wilson, she's been coordinating conversations with SCTA in regards to that.
Yeah, and we did, for the countywide plan, we did receive a lot of comments during the first phase of engagement in Santa Rosa. So we provided those to the city. And I think there's not as many this time, but we are getting more comments in Santa Rosa. So once we wrap up this phase, we'll provide those to Santa Rosa as well.
Thanks.
And similarly for Petaluma and Windsor as well.
Cool. Okay, so for the countywide ATP, if you all in your jurisdictions encounter anyone that needs to physically be with someone in person, send them our way to the Roanoke Park open house on the Wednesday the 13th. I think we're planning 6 to 8 at the community center. Come on, we need the company.
So just a couple of questions. You mentioned that there was one city that had already passed. Which one was that again?
City of Cotati.
Okay, and why was Cotati on an expedited timeline?
So they had actually started in-house before we got the grant for the update. So so they had some preliminary work done and had done some engagement, community engagement. And just like with a very small staff, they got, pulled onto other priorities. And so they had something to start with, and they also had some pressure to get it done more quickly. So we were able to.
Was that community pressure or?
It was from their council. So yeah, we were able to accelerate that process and get that done more quickly.
Okay. And then I also wanted to know, you mentioned inputs, and several people have talked about inputs to different maps. Is there a carryover on that from year to year or plan to plan? Because I noticed that I personally commented last year on a request for input on a map, and I hadn't seen those same updates on this current request for input. So I'm just wondering if there's a mechanism to carry those things over and keep those projects kind of, moving forward from plan to plan, or is it starting new every time?
Yeah, I'm wondering, was it also for the countywide active transportation plan, or?
I don't know. I mean, there's so many, I think it was like
Mm-hmm.
either the Caltrans Bay Area plan or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, so we have been in coordination with Caltrans on their plan update. So Caltrans is right now, they have a draft out of their District 4 bicycle plan. So that is really just focusing on projects that are on the Caltrans right away, but we have been coordinating with them and reviewing their draft projects and making sure that input we've received so far and on our draft plans and kind of the draft plans that we have are in coordination and kind of agree with what Caltrans is proposing. So we have been sharing information, a separate entity that's developing that plan. I'll also just note that for the countywide plan, we've looked at all of the local road safety plans, which you may have also provided input on. A lot of similar types of questions being asked about safety in different communities. So we are taking all of that into consideration for the development of the projects for the countywide plan. Actually showing the comments has been on the maps. It was our, we were aiming to do that. But they're all on different platforms when they're being developed by a different organization.
Sure.
So we were not able to successfully do that, although we did try. But yeah, I understand that it's, there's a lot being asked, and we, yeah, appreciate your, your, concern about multiple, comments. So, but we are, you know, we are looking at the past, engagement processes and the comments are provided.
And I think for somebody like me, you know, I'm going to go into as many surveys as I can find and fill them out. But the people that I drag along that, you know, I see them riding a bike and say, hey, you might want to fill out this survey. I think you're going to get a lot of fatigue from folks like that, you know, say, I put in some comments to a survey once and nothing changed. And so, you know, where's my idea? So just wanted to provide that feedback.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that, you know, it's something we're aware of and working on. I know with the South Santa Rosa area that Alexander mentioned earlier, there's several different efforts going on there. And that's one example of where we're really trying to bring them together and coordinate the outreach. So we're not asking people multiple times. So yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, and we're working on it to try to make it more seamless.
Survey fatigue.
Yes, survey fatigue.
Thanks. Okay. Any more on ATP? Okay, regional funding. ATP, the other ATP, cycle 7 application deadline. It's coming up June 17th. And Dana, or I don't know if Dana, you wanted to speak to this.
Speak to this briefly. So in your agenda packet, starts on page 54 of the PDF, but there's an email on there that you all may have received. Anyone that's getting the messages for the active transportation working group with MTC should have received this, but it's just some reminders about the upcoming deadline for the both the state and regional application for ATP. There's some changes to the process this year, so there's one application for both the state and regional, and then there's a supplemental piece for the regional application. So there's links in that email to the to where to submit the applications and instructions on doing so. Let's see.
You have until today to email Carl if you want him to.
That's right.
Look at your stuff.
Yes, so MTC is offering a kind of preliminary review of applications, but today is the deadline. So if you're applying and haven't sent it in, you may still be able to do that today. But they're happy to review and provide feedback.
Anyone in this room applying? Your jurisdiction applying? No. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
Anyone going for the quick build, which is, you guys doing quick build too? So you're gonna do two. You're gonna do regular ATP.
Infrastructure and
What's your?
hopefully we can get it done in time. It's a lot.
Even I was gonna ask, is the quick build says it's a smaller separate application. We're not applying.
Yeah.
But I may if it's easy.
It's smaller, but it's definitely not.
It's just smaller font. They dropped one question off, and because I mean it's a whole application already as a whole to do. If it's smaller by only a little bit, I don't know. Well, maybe. All right, I'm just curious. All righty. Anything else on ATP cycle 7? Thanks, Nina. Updates. All right, 9.1 roundtable discussion. Anybody have anything? I will start. Heimbach Creek, Snyder, if you're in town and you're living in K section and you want to get across Snyder right now, you better be looking before you cross, because there is nothing to get to the other part of Heimbach Creek, and same going the other way. middle of June 13th, we have a bid out for ped crossing there, corral of some sort that Jason is building. You will still have to travel on the crummy path though, between Snyder and K section because the birds are nesting and we have to wait. And now it's also riparian zone, so we have some issues with fishing game or wildlife or whoever. So use your fat tires or whatever, but you'll be able to get across and be in the corral and Snyder soon. That's my bike ped update. How about go this direction?
Yeah, I just have one quick one for the city of Sebastopol. So our last council meeting, which was on May 7th, we adopted through our Climate Action Committee the Vision Zero goals and policies that SCTA had worked on, and incorporated a few different policies and programs for Sebastopol specific. So we'll look forward to implementing those in the future. And that is all I have bike and ped related, so.
Thank you.
We actually have a lot going on with our slurry seal coming up. So starting, I think it's June 12th, we're already starting to do some eradication around town, especially around downtown. But the slurry seal will be going in place, and then there's going to be restriping on like Mendocino, 4th, Montgomery, ton of locations, and the actual slurry seal application is going even further across, but there's going to be added class 2B buffered bike lanes and some section of class 4 streets, class 2B. Super excited about all this, trying to connect the network. Hopefully in the future, this is how we can like progress connecting the network in Santa Rosa is through our slurry seal projects, and actually, you know, focusing not just on PCIs, so that's like the pavement quality index, but actually pairing it with projects to kind of create this more connected network for bike network. And, you know, a lot of the bike network stuff also creates a great protection for pedestrians on the side of the road. I know there's countless times that I've read about, or, you know, in the past, I was a civil engineering technician. So we read through, you know, data from collisions, and somebody's on the sidewalk and they get hit. So a lot of the protected bike lane type stuff will help with that as well. So really excited these projects are going through finally. It's a year late, but finally it's gonna happen. So that's super exciting. Yep, that's what I got.
Okay, we've got a couple of things. Christina alluded to our Golden Spoke Awards Gala that's happening on June 8th, and there are still tickets. Got about a week to get them if you would be interested. This is our second annual. We started it last year, and the event is partly a fundraiser, but it's also about celebrating all of the individuals, organizations, jurisdictions in the county who are doing things to improve things for cyclists. So we have 4 different awards that were given. One is the Bike Champion of the Year. That's connected with Bike to Work Day. And this year that one's going to Dr. Lois Sauer, who saved someone who went into cardiac arrest on a bicycle ride, and also is a big advocate for safety and medical training for cyclists. As Christina mentioned, Deb Fox from Cool Petaluma is our Bike Advocate of the Year for all the work that she's been doing in Petaluma, both with the Safe Routes to School and other issues around Petaluma. Bike Project of the Year is also in Petaluma. We had a lot more to look at this year than we have in a while for that one. So sorry to everybody who didn't get it. But the redo on North McDowell, that was a street that was really ugly to ride on, and over, you know, it was like the longest, best improvement, you know, on the crappiest street. So that was that. And then Bike Friendly Business of the Year, we're giving that award to the county's climate action and resiliency team for the Clean Commute program, giving subsidies to staff who bike or take back, other kinds of transportation to work. And as an example that we would like to see more employers and jurisdictions do. So that's coming up. And then the other thing is, and I may have mentioned this before, we did get a very small grant from the county. One of my education staff, who also is a former bus driver, put together a bike-friendly driving course for bus drivers. And we work with the city of Santa Rosa, and we've now done the training 3 times to get all of the staff of the Santa Rosa City Bus and the Paratransit. And so we are now going to be looking to offer it to other jurisdictions, both, the transit drivers, Sonoma County Transit and Petaluma Transit, but also other fleets, right? We figure we do lots of education for cyclists to be safe, but it's people driving cars who are killing them. So how do we get at drivers, and starting with drivers who are professional drivers and already have training embedded in their job? So city fleets, limo companies, we're looking at other entities to bring this training to. I'm pretty excited about it because I've been wanting to do it for years.
Report today for regional parks.
So we are going to add some buffered bike lanes along Shiloh Road. The pavement's not great, but that's a later problem. But we want to reduce the travel lanes, include buffered bike lanes, and widen the bike lanes there because we have a big affordable housing unit on the corner of Red and Shiloh. There's no sidewalks either, so it's a real on Shiloh Road on many portions. So just trying to encourage people to get on Shiloh Road to get to Walmart. And then we have a really big town-wide striping project. So we're going to try to improve, because a lot of our bike lanes are all faded center line. So we're going to do a big striping pavement marking project coming out in the summer. And then adding conflict area, green conflict striping across driveways in certain areas to try to help with bicycling. And we just did a whole lot of speed surveys, so we're going to be reducing a lot of our speed limits and taking advantage of those recent laws that we heard. A local road does not have to be a local road plus a business district, blah blah other. So we're going to reduce 3 local roads to 25 miles per hour. So I think that's really good. And then some we're going to still continue to do the engineering and traffic surveys just because there's other conditions that warrant, even though they don't really need it because they're local roads, but we're going to continue to do that. But yeah, so we're going to reduce the speed limits to a lot of areas.
Mm-hmm. Then you're going to tell Adam about it.
Oh, yeah. I'm just thinking about all the things that I should start with.
And anybody from jurisdictions on Zoom? Sonoma County Transit, and I can't see what the other ones are. Okay.
Hi, this is Stephen Schmidt, Sonoma County Transit. I wanted to thank Eris for that presentation or announcement about the bike and bus safety videos. So we'd be more than happy to work with you to present that to our drivers. And I would recommend also reaching out to Petaluma Transit and maybe even Golden Gate Transit as well. So thank you. I don't have any other updates.
Thanks, Stephen. Recology too, Eris. Recology. The trash people. Okay. Thank you everyone for roundtable updates. Shared micromobility, Dana.
Yeah. I don't have a whole lot to update here, but for the Sonoma and Marin County bike share program, we have been meeting with all of the jurisdictions as well as some other, public institution and private properties, and transit districts on siting. So we've been having one-on-one meetings with them on kind of the process for getting the encroachment permits, and as well as starting to, confirm some of the preferred site location. So those meetings are going to continue through the end of this week, and then we expect the team from Drop Mobility to be in town sometime in June, and we'll meet with each of the jurisdictions and kind of go out there and actually look at all of the spaces. So it's moving along. But yeah, I think that we should have a lot more to share in terms of timing by our next CBPAC meeting. We are progressing.
Super.
Quick question about that.
Yeah.
Do you have any of the smart stations on the list for sites?
Yes. Most of the smart stations will have bike share hubs on them, at them. Either, right next to it, or, I mean, we're getting as close as we can to the platform entrances. So I believe that, we're looking at all of them. I think not yet at the airport station. That may be a second phase. And I think that we're maybe yet to confirm if all three in Novato would be served, but for the most part, all the stations.
And I know that Drop is already interviewing their potential staff, because at least one candidate's used me as a reference.
Okay. Yes.
And I'm talking with them tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, I know they're trying to get the operations manager hired kind of earlier than what our original timeline was, what I think will actually be really beneficial, because the operations manager will then be able to be involved in some of the site planning work, and kind of be a good local presence for that. So excited about that. I think that's going to happen. We'll get a final announcement about that fairly soon. So yeah, that's good news.
All right. Any questions from the Zoom gallery? No hands up. All right. Bicycle and ped counters. Who's taking that? That's not you anymore, Chris, is it? It's now Adam now.
I could give a quick update unless you want to, Adam.
Yeah, no major update. We're just expecting funding to be coming in July. I just was in communication with Eco Counter, so they are ready and waiting for our money to send us for the 2 counters, and then 4 of the infrared counters. So infrared would be just for pedestrians and bicyclists. Tubes would be just for bicyclists. You could use them in tandem if you wanted to be able to count both.
What happens to the old ones?
The old ones we will probably just send to recycling somehow. Yeah, they have batteries in them, so they have to be dismantled somehow. Yeah.
So we do still have some, I mean, they are working, their lifespan is coming to an end. So before we get the new ones, they're still available for any of the jurisdictions to use.
Yep. Let me know if you need them.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Okay, item number 10, other business comments, announcements. Anybody on Zoom have something to say? Trying to give you more time to call Adam Crenshaw if you got an AT. And all right, I think if that's it, then we're going to adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.